That's in.
All right, hi everybody.
There is actually no limit.
No limit on roster size.
There is no limit.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because I think you can bury a lot of players there. So, we're talking about cap size and roster size and things of that nature for the hockey team. I'm going to change the graphics before we start.
Now, obviously, there's a limit to how many can be dressed per game.
Right. That makes sense.
But
I think
you can carry.
I can understand you not wanting to put a limit on it because it's still a farm team.
Yeah, because they can be they can have a massive amount of call-ups at any point.
Right. So you want to be able to have some in reserve, even if so that way to fill in the gaps.
I mean, golly, there could be a pandemic.
Right. Exactly. All right. Well, welcome on in all of the people on Twitch. Let me start our Facebook Live, and we'll get going there as well. Let me just see. I have too many versions of the same thing open. All right. We're gonna call this episode 333 Caps Hockey. I still think it's so weird that I can go live from my page on my phone, but not like on here. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. All right, let me just, before we get started, I'm going to try to put the Wizards game on over here. I don't know why I'm going to put myself to that kind of pain, but
sports.
It's sports and team that we do cover. So someone shared with me a fun stat that if they go winless this month, they will break the NBA record for most consecutive losses, which the Pistons got this year. And the team that would beat them to set the record, who do you think it would be?
The Pistons.
Yes. What are the freaking odds of that?
That is the definition of irony right there.
Right. I can't believe that could be a thing. That could line up that way. Especially because like our players are talking trash. You're like, you want to beat anybody but that team, and wouldn't that be ironic if that team that makes us that team?
Ugh.
So yeah,
Well, I hate to cast aspersions, but I don't think we should be talking too much trash about the Wizards, considering the Caps just lost to a team that lost 14 out of its last 16 games.
So they actually did the exact same thing the Wizards did. They both lost all the February games. I thought that was kind of interesting. I was like, so, but at least we're winning some of the games.
Let me get the kitty butt out of the way. This is a G-rated show.
And
all isn't lost.
We have to send Steve Ford to all the games, and then we'll win all. That's at least what it looks like from last week. So, oops, I just clicked the wrong button. All right, let's try this again. So let's join.
Can you keep your butt out of the video? It is a G-rated show here, Taz.
All right, C4 and go. I'm gonna have you mute for just 1 second, and then I'm gonna start our stream right now.
I'm keeping my pants on as best as I can.
All right, let me just do some checks real fast before I hit the live button, and I forgot one line. Of course, it throws an error message, so now I have to check. What does that mean? Technology. Are we live? We are live. Okay. Well, welcome to episode 333 of Sports on the Hill podcast. My name is Robbie. I'm joined by two parts of the Power Play Point podcast. We've got Gil and C4, and we're going to be talking Caps in the first segment. We're going to talk a little DC United with Champ in a little while. They had a difficult but yet good result in a game out west. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk a little wrestling. There was a pay-per-view match that was exciting. And then if you're following us live on Twitch, there's going to be an art stream later where I might do some video editing, some Photoshop stuff, a little bit of a couple different art. We're also going to be interviewing Josh Turk about he is doing this really awesome raid train, so we'll be talking about that as well. So with that, we're going to bring in Gil. How are you doing tonight, Gil?
Oh, not too bad. For once, I have the house to myself, except for the kitty cat, of course, who's running around waiting to get his late supper. But yeah, I mean, all things considered, not bad, not too bad. There's worse things in the world than your hockey team losing a game they're supposed to have won, but
yeah, we have a lot to dissect, but I'm excited that we're going to get to do that with C4 here. C4 got to go to a couple of games last week. I know that she's just coming off IR herself, and but she's still somewhat injured, but able to get to the Caps games and be our good luck charm, which we very much desperately needed last week. So we'll talk about the two games that she went to, as well as the other games. Champ is in chat and Twitch saying, "I can't wait for the koozie conversation." Yeah, there's a lot to break down with that. So real quickly, I'm going to share this Facebook feed to a couple of things carefully because Facebook doesn't like me often. But Gil, can you let people know what happened? And by the way, congratulations on 250 episodes. That's a big milestone.
Yes, yay.
Thank you.
So that was really cool. And you actually did a stream with C4's roommate, right? I believe, and on this week's episode.
Yes. What wasn't a stream, but this week's episode is and it's not really a simulcast. It's what we're doing is we're going to break down what the Caps roster is going to look like, or the possible changes both pre and post deadline. And it's with with Marcus of the Sucrum's Capitals Off the Chain podcast. So we spent about a good hour or so going over that, and so the next episode next Sunday after the deadline, we're going to kind of go over the aftermath of that. So stay tuned for that. And go over a few high-priced free agents from other teams, or high-priced targets rather, from other teams that are possible deadline moves for other teams as well. So if you might be interested in that as well. But I mean, no big deal, not to downplay it, but yeah, it's kind of fun being an armchair GM and going over the moves. But the thing I want to stress as far as that goes is I don't think, no matter what, I don't think the blue chip prospects should be touched. I can't stress that enough. Miroshnichenko, Ryan Leonard, Ryan Chesley, probably throw Matthew Cristal in there as well. None of those guys should be part of any deal that goes down this weekend at all.
Even if they were to retain salary, because I think you might have to move somebody.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
Cannot trade the future for the now. Cannot do it.
No, they've already made that mistake. Those guys are going to be your core in say 5 or 6 seasons. So I think the loss of any one of them would make be very detrimental to any cup chances we have. If you can keep them all together and they all hit their potential, can you imagine the seasons they're going to have? Both regular season and playoffs. You got 2 guys in there. 2 of those guys have been to World Junior Championships and have done well for themselves. You got another guy who is touted to be basically Ovechkin's heir, and is already doing well for himself in Hershey. And I love the potential. I love the potential, and I love seeing that these guys have a chance to be the next generation of great Caps players. And I think that's what's going to unfold. But I don't think the Caps are close enough to a playoff spot right now to justify mortgaging any one of them for some sort of pipe dream in a big trade for a big name that is supposed to help them now and probably won't, if we're being honest.
Yeah. I'm actually going to
As
start.
has happened in past.
Yeah, I'm going to start a backup recording on this computer.
Recording in progress.
Sorry, just, safe. And I didn't start one before. But anyway, usually I start that before I hit the go live on Facebook, but didn't want to chance it per se. So, but thank you everyone for tuning in. I see people turning in on the True Radio Network Facebook Live page. Again, I'm having struggles sharing it to the actual SportsOTHP one, but we are part of the network, so it is kind of nice to represent on there as well. So people can get that. I have now shared it on our page. The Wizards are on a 13-0 run in the last 2 minutes. They're up 17-11 with 6:45 left in the first quarter here. So it's still very early. We're in Utah, and I will remind our listeners we have not won a game since before February. So we are trying to break that. So we'll see how that goes. Usually it's a disaster live on air. So I'm not expecting a whole lot in Utah, especially because it's not even a home game, but just something to be thinking about as we continue on with this podcast. Let's start off. Last week we did a live show. We rarely get such a big win on a live show, so it was really fun with Gil and Anna. And I know that C4 was there, and Gil, Anna, and myself really broke it down. We had some play-by-play with Gil in it, which I thought was really cool, and lots of discussion. And so if anyone wants our opinions on it, they can go back to episode 332. It's all live on sportsothp.com. And they can click just the Capitals video, or just the beginning of the podcast is where we started that stuff. And so I'll leave my thoughts and Gil's thoughts out of that one on Monday, but I do want to get your thoughts because you were there. What were some of your thoughts on going to that game?
First of all, I was excited just to be able to get to the game. As you guys can see, I'm still in the sling till at least the 21st. But and needless to say, Marcus was sitting on this side of me. He was sitting on my right side. Because he does get a little, as you guys have seen, he does get a little passionate, shall we say, at the games. Yes. But it was a lot of fun. It was just nice to see the guys playing so well, clicking together, humming along. It was also just nice to beat Ottawa for a couple of different reasons. But just being back in the atmosphere and watching the boys play as well as he did. And like y'all mentioned, that one LaPierre goal from okay, hold on. I gotta pull it up now.
Mantha?
Yes. The Mantha to Protus, or the Protus to Mantha to LaPierre, and he kind of did that little pirouette after. That was just that was just fun. That was just like, he's like, okay, I scored this goal. This is cool, but just seeing the guys play so well together, and the defense, it was just good to see. Get off to a strong start with Protus, and then Carlson scoring, to start it. So it's just nice to see the guys.
Yeah, it was a great win.
It was a really good win.
Yeah, I was sort of surprised, and I have to give Andrew Tran credit for seeing 2 games in a row with that many goals. One with me, and then one we were going to. I was like, holy moly!
Yeah, because we scored. Yeah, it was 6-3.
I think it was both games they scored 6 goals. So
yeah, let's see. Hold on, I'm going back here.
I'm trying to remember.
They scored. It was 5-3 against Tampa, 2-3, 6-3. It was 5-4 Friday's game was
New Jersey was 6.
5-2. Oh yeah, New Jersey was I was at that
6.
game too, 6-2. No, I wasn't at Jersey.
You weren't at Jersey. You were at the
I
other
was
one.
not at Jersey. I was at home. I think
You-
Marcus. No, I don't remember. Marcus went to some game that I didn't go to. I don't remember which one it was. But yeah, New Jersey was 6-2. Ottawa was 6-3. Half price pizza, man. Couldn't ask for better.
Right.
You
And
know.
so yeah, very exciting. I'm happy that you got to go to that one. I'm kind of happy I went to that New Jersey game and not the game we originally planned to go to, Gil. And in the end, even though it was 60 degrees yesterday, Gil, I went skiing at Liberty. And you know, we had a great time because I could like ski in a t-shirt, which is rare. You know.
There you go.
So that was kind of fun. Liz had never
ski.
skied before, so that was really cool. So if anyone wants to see, I did a video on my Instagram, and I also did.
You froze.
We are losing Robbie, I think.
He froze. Robbie.
Well, maybe the
Hold on, I'll
well, the 62-degree day looks like it's turned into below freezing. Either that or the aliens got him again. I don't know.
I don't know. He's got that. Maybe the man.
We'll try to keep it going here. So maybe pretend we're on an episode of The Outer Limits.
There we go.
God. Oh God. That's
There
he's back. We got him back.
He's back.
And he's making his way back. So while we're waiting for him, that was we'll prolong the good as long as we can. That was as a pretty good game, the Ottawa game. And
surprisingly few penalties. Actually, what surprised me the most was most of the penalties were against Ottawa, not us.
I was surprised at that too. Although there were only 8 minutes in penalties called.
Yeah,
I was surprised at that more than anything.
I actually kind of like that because I like when they let the boys play a little bit.
Oh, it had a hell of a flow
because it doesn't interrupt the flow of the game as much.
Yeah, that game had a hell of a flow. I thought my mouth was going to fall off doing play-by-play because there was no stop.
No, and we managed to keep them pinned in their zone better than we did Philly. Well, Philly's one of those teams. They're as Marcus said when we were at the game, Philly's a very heavy offensively built team. So they do tend to keep teams pinned in the zone a lot better than some. So, but it was nice to see our guys pinning Ottawa in the zone, making the effort to get the shots and defending well too. And who was in goal for that game? I don't even remember.
For us or for
the Ottawa game? Who was our goalie? Was
I think we both of them. I think we chased them.
It was
both of them.
But goal was
Forsberg started, and they chased him out after the fourth goal.
Right.
And Korpisalo came in to mop up, and he gave up 2 goals.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Kemper didn't face a lot of shots. He had only 21 shots against. So that was good in the shot suppression.
That's right. Kemper was in goal. I was thinking who was in goal for us.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the unfortunate Detroit game because it kind of, we're chasing teams and we need to beat them, and we won one of those teams we were chasing. We didn't win the other one. And,
well, to be honest, I didn't watch much of that game after the first period.
Yeah. You say the word chase, and in this, but if you have the mentality of this game in mind, the one they played against Detroit, that game, you say the word chase, and all I can think of is, again, sorry for the old TV reference, but all I can think of is the opening theme to What's Happening and Rerun, chasing down the truck that's going 30, 40 miles an hour and trying desperately to catch up and jump into the back of the truck. That was the Caps in this game.
Yeah, that about sums it up.
Yeah, I mean they were down 2-0 before the first period was over. Yeah, Hendricks Lapierre gets a goal to get it back to 2-1. Gets them some momentum, but just 2 minutes later, they get it right back. They make it 3-1, and then the Ghost gets his second of the game and makes it 4-1. And Scott Urbosa makes it 4-2. Makes it a little bit closer, but then you have the short-handed one, which is kind of like the nail in the coffin right there. Makes it
Yeah, I think
5-2.
I actually saw that goal from Comfort. He's not going to miss those shots very often.
Yeah, and then they pile on, make it 6-2. Max Pacioretty scores a power play goal to make it look a little bit better at 6-3, and then they get two more goals to make it look a lot worse and make it 8-3 against. And luckily, it doesn't really matter how many goals you beat a team by. They count the same, but it is a little bit disheartening for sure. Gil, what are your thoughts on that?
It was horrifically hard to watch. As I mentioned on this week's episode, I don't think, and I think the Monumental broadcaster said something to the same effect, but I don't think anybody realized how good Detroit actually is right now, uh, because they've spent most of the season fighting for a playoff spot. I think before it's all over, they're going to end up with one of the three division spots. They're that good. They're they've got probably one of the top five defensive cores in the league right now. And Gostisbehere is a comeback story. You got a guy who was a Flyers prospect at one point and then was left for dead, sent out to Arizona to rot, and then his career gets a resurrection. Um, and yeah, and he's doing well. So yeah, I don't know that I don't want to say the Caps weren't prepared for this game, but I don't think anybody was prepared for how good this team was and is, and it wasn't going to be much they could have done. I don't think they quit, but there wasn't much they could have done to stop the result from happening. I would have liked a better looking result at least, but I think Cheryl Ann gave the right word, disheartening. So yeah, that what else can you say?
Yeah, this stretch run is brutal. I don't know if I'll have time to go too far into the upcoming schedule, but we have the hardest remaining schedule in the league, and we're chasing teams. So it's going to be an uphill, battle. We have to beat a
Yeah,
lot of.
even with the games we have in hand, it's like still going to be.
Yeah, exactly, because the games in hand are still against, playoff, position teams that uh,
Mhm.
some of them we're chasing, and some of them are even better than that. Well, I want to talk about the playoff chase just a little bit. Live score update thanks to Scorebot, which is live on Twitch. We have a bot that puts live scores from all the different sports into chat. So if anybody ever wants to be seeing that while they're watching, it's kind of like having your own ticker, but it's like in chat. Anyway, start of overtime, Flyers are tied with the Blues, which kind of sucks because that means that they got a point. We can hope that the Blues try to prevent them from getting the second one, but yeah. Anyway, it's a 1-1 game in that. Colorado Avalanche just scored and they lead the Blackhawks 1-0 in that game, and the Grizzlies lead the Nets 80-77 right now. So in the Wizards game right now, the Wizards are up 10, 34-24 with 2:43 left in the first quarter. So. Those are some live games that we're looking at right now. Getting into the week that was against another team in that we are chasing, and this is the one that we really need to catch. So this was kind of a 4-point swing game. If you let Philly win in regulation, it's probably the nail in the coffin for your season. But if you win, then you gain 2 points on them, right? Especially in
Yep.
regulation. So unfortunately, we were down 2 minutes into the game, and then we gave them a power play to end the first period, and they scored on that as well. A nice shot, sort of similar to the Ovi point. Made it 2-0, and I was kind of disheartened after the first period. I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be hopefully it's not a repeat of the last game. It's not looking good." But I was happy that C4 was there and brought luck in the second period. I don't know if you guys changed positions or what you did. You ate something
No,
different, but just stuck with it. Ovi at 434 gives us some life, makes it 2-1. 17th of the season. He's getting closer to 20. You know, all of a sudden he's kind of like turned it on. And so it'll be interesting to see if he can hit that 20 mark again, which, you know, I believe, is he set the record for most 20 goal seasons? I mean, it's up there.
I don't know.
I know it is for
Gordie
30.
Howe has 22 20 goal seasons in his career. That's the record.
That's the record. All right, but he's getting closer, and so because Ovi has, I don't know, what is it now? Is it 19? No, 18. Anyway,
At
so
least 15.
at least 15. So yeah. But anyway, he has the record for the 30 goal games, I think, or seasons. Anyway, 17th of the season, Tom Wilson, 12th assist, Hendrix Lapierre, 6th assist of the season, makes it 2-1. Just about 5 minutes later, Sonny Milano with the good hair gets his 7th goal of the season. Max Pacioretty gets his 11th assist. Dylan Strome's 23rd assist of the season ties the game at 2-2. John Carlson gets his 5th goal of the season at
That goal was pretty.
17:45. Yeah, a really nice goal by John Carlson, a wrap,
Mhm.
where he basically faked it. The goalie kind of had to play and get tight to that post, and he got around, and the goalie couldn't extend fast enough, pushing off from one post to the other.
Yep, it was right in front of me because
Yeah,
we were sitting behind where the Caps defend twice. So we saw that. That one was right in front of us.
that's awesome.
Mhm.
3-2. It gave us a lot of momentum going into the third period. Anthony Mantha, who I'm wearing the shirt of once again, if you're listening on the audio podcast. I don't know how much longer I'll get to wear this for as a current capital thing. It might go into my bin soon. So that's, you know, we'll be talking about that in just a minute. But I'm happy to see he's up to 19 goals on the season.
I know.
And assists Dylan Strome 24, Tom Wilson 13th. And then Dylan Strome wants to get in on the scoring action too, and does so at the 15:38 mark. And I like that C4 is a big Strome fan. And
I was not rocking the Strom jersey though that night. I was wearing my retro Ovechkin jersey, the Screaming Eagle.
the black one or the red one?
No, the white Screaming
Oh, the
Eagle
red.
retro
Oh,
from
the white.
2005, 2006.
Yeah. The old school one. Nice.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll be rocking this one next game I go to. So I'm not
yeah,
sure what that is. I think we're going to the Carolina game for the Hawaiian shirts.
nice.
Me and Bradley are going at least.
Cool. Dylan Strome's 22nd. Max Pacioretty gets his 12th assist, and Joel Edmondson, another name that's being talked about in the trade rumor mills, makes it 5-2. And I did not expect us to score 5 unanswered goals. But C4, what was that like being there for a game that I don't know what Spencer Carberry said after the first intermission, but he pushed some of the right buttons.
Oh, somebody had to come to Jesus talk with the boys, but we were surrounded by Philadelphia fans. And what's really funny is the guys in the row in front of us were actually sitting. We were at the Irish Channel. We usually go to the Irish Channel before the game, and these guys come in and they sit down in the booth next to us. And we go to the game, and next thing we know, these guys are coming in and they're sitting in the row in front of us, and they're Flyers fans. And there's a Flyers fan behind it. They're all around us and they're screaming, "Let's go Flyers!" And we're just like, ah. They kind of got a little quiet after Carlson scored that that his goal, his little wraparound. But the first goal, and you guys talked about it on the podcast yesterday, Gil, or Sunday, Gil. The first goal doesn't happen if Protas is either half a step quicker or uses his body to knock what's his name, Brink off the puck. He basically, there was a rebound, Brink was there, Protas was a half step slow, the puck goes in. If he'd been a half step faster, or if he had knocked Brink off the puck, that goal doesn't happen. So I don't put that goal. That's not on Lindgren at all. The second goal, I saw it coming. I'm not sure Lindgren did. He may or may not want that one back. But as soon as Ovi scored, it was like a different team. Um, it was like, oh wait, we can do this. We can beat these guys. Yeah, they spent a lot of time in their own zone, but when they were in Philly zone, they made it count. And that's the important thing is you've got to make it count. And we did that game. We just fought and played our game. And our defense was tough. Charlie was tough. And I mean, I have zero complaints about this game except for the first period.
Yeah.
Because the first period we were looking a little iffy. Like I, but once we settled down and got it figured out, we figured it out. We finished the job.
I'm gonna test something real quickly because they said that my mic levels were low, and I do see that my Zoom settings were a little bit low. I know that Gil, you had mentioned that earlier, but I thought I was just because I was across the room. Let me try this and see if this works a little bit better in that area. Here, Gil, does that sound better to you?
Yeah, much.
Yeah, you're good.
Hopefully it's not too loud. But let me know. Thank you, Troy. And Troy's been live over on the True Radio Network Facebook page, and he said that he's doing a little better today.
I was gonna ask how his leg's doing.
He thought his shin bone was broken, but no bruise, no swelling. Pain level was at 11, but now it's at a 1. So I'm happy to hear that he's
Nice.
doing
That's
better.
good.
And,
Glad
I
to hear he's doing better.
yeah, I really appreciate our conversations throughout the week. So, and appreciate you being a fan and sharing our stuff and championing our stuff over on Facebook. And thank you to all of my friends that are watching live on Twitch, including Low Base Guy and Champ. Low Base Guy actually does. I'm part of a group over there. They call the Web Creative Community. It's a group of artists that stream live on Twitch. So I appreciate that he puts this group together. And he's also a streamer and a photographer himself. And so I appreciate him for joining us. I do want to say that the Wizards lead the Jazz 41-35, or now it's 44-35, just into the second quarter. Colorado Avalanche scored another goal. They're now up 2-0 over the Blackhawks. And we were also talking about that Flyers game. That game has now gone to a shootout, I believe. And the Columbus Blue Jackets have defeated the Vegas Golden Knights 6-3 in their game. So those are some more games that are going on around the league.
Yep, they're in a shoot. Blues and Flyers are in a shootout. Yep.
Yeah, I guess I could put on ESPN Plus somewhere on another screen, but I don't necessarily care that much. I just
By the time I get it on, it'll be over.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I kind of feel too.
By the time I turn it on, it's over.
Just to watch the Flyers win, which I definitely don't want to do. So I haven't had it on yet. So
yeah, no, I want the Blues to win. Come on, St. Louis.
Actually, Champ mentioned I must have missed the Kuzi combo. We haven't really gotten into the trade deadline talk too much. I do.
Can I just say one more thing about the Philly game?
Yeah, go for it.
Two things. One, it was nice to see the tribute to Hathaway. But secondly, it was kind of interesting to see Tommy and Hathaway get into that fight. And Tommy kind of knocked the snot out of Hathaway in the third period.
It was kind of pretty evenly matched. And honestly, Hathaway was smart to do a judo throw because he didn't want anything to do with his fist. So
but the funniest part of it was if you look at the clip, there's a part where I think it's Polgar, whatever his name is, from Philly, has kind of his arm around LaPierre's shoulders, like they're like best buds, just kind of watching the fight.
yeah. I did like that shot too. There's just
that was like the best part of it all when I was watching the replay on YouTube.
Yeah, it's like good friends taking in a fight, like watching the,
yep. So anyway, but yeah, that was kind of fun to see.
I think that I was just gonna say the Champ makes a good point about I do want to talk a little bit about Kuzi. I do know that we only have about 15 minutes left. I don't want to drag on too much about the Arizona game. I also didn't watch it, so I don't have a lot to say other than the fact that
I honestly didn't either.
Gil, in like a quick sum up of like choking and not doing what you're supposed to do against a bad team, what's your brief synopsis? And if people want to know more, I assume you talk about it in your podcast this past week. I haven't had a crazy day. I haven't listened to it yet.
Caps started out strong. That lasted all of about 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and then they kind of lagged behind. Then they let up that breakaway goal, and it was them chasing the game all over again. And that's really all you need to know. That's what happened. They didn't. This one, I will say, more than any, this one they were not ready. They were not up to the task of, okay, this is a team we can beat and grab the 2 points. Well, they weren't going to grab anything. They weren't going to grab anybody's lunch. They weren't going to grab their pants or whatever they needed. Nothing. They weren't ready. They didn't come with it, and it killed them.
Yeah, so real quickly, the two bright spots were Sonny Milano getting his 8th goal of the season, Ovi's 28th assist. Sandin got 17 assists, and then 10 seconds into the third, making it 4-2 and giving just a little bit of life and chance. The aforementioned, any chance I get to talk about Anthony Mantha, I'm going to. So he'd get to 20 goals. Dylan Strom's 25th assist of the season. And unfortunately got the empty netter to make it 5-2. But it was a game you had to win. I feel bad because it's Kids Day, and it's the day that all the kids get to watch the Caps, and they didn't get up for the kids. Like, that's sad, right? Like, against a team that didn't even win a game in February. Like, come on. Like, this is. I understand you have the emotional letdown. We talked about that actually a couple of weeks ago about games where there's potential for emotional letdown, and they didn't do it. But in this one, they succumbed to the trap game, as they call it, and it's very disappointing. I'm kind of rooting for Arizona to win every game in March, though, just because I think that would be the most amazing statistic in NHL history. If they lose every game in February but won every game in March, because they started March now with 2 wins in a row. So I thought that would be kind of an interesting statistic. They're playing Chicago, Minnesota, Detroit, then Chicago again, then Minnesota again, but then in Detroit. So I figure Detroit's gonna hammer them. But one could only dream. I just think that would be the most amazing thing if like Arizona went on a roll after this. But I don't think that's the case, and I just think that it's a bad loss. Let's get into this koozie thing. I'm going to try to share my screen and do something real quick. Don't usually do this for Caps Talk, but we can. Let me see.
Your video is frozen, but we can still hear you.
My video is frozen. No, I think I'm still live.
I'm seeing some movement.
Okay.
Yeah, now it's saying it says my internet connection is unstable, but okay.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, Zoom's doing weird things. You're seeing fine.
Okay, you're good now.
Okay. Zoom has been a little glitchy the last couple of weeks, and I gotta try to figure that out. But I have a second computer running Zoom over here as a backup for me to run to in case it is set up. But it was doing an echo thing. But I think I fixed the backup as well. But we'll see. This is the big stat that I wanted to show people right here is Kuzi. So it's a buried penalty. This is right here. So it's a $6.65 million that we have to pay to have him down in the minor league. So some people thought, oh, he cleared waivers. That means he's off the books, right? I saw that a lot on Cap Score, and I understand. Yeah, exactly. And it's not how this works. Otherwise, teams would have taken him, but they want us to have that penalty, and they don't want to take his full cap onto their ledger, which is what would happen if they claimed him off of waivers, right? So, or might be slightly prorated for this year. I'm not sure on that side of it, but I know that for next year they would be on the hook for the next part of the contract. And so, with that being said, we're probably going to have to retain salary to move him or have to trade in additional players. They've done that before to move a giant salary contract. And so it'll be interesting to see that Friday is the trade deadline. And my dad just said, your fan in Puerto Rico can see you well on Twitch. So hi, Dad in Puerto Rico. He's in meetings down there. And it's it'll be interesting to see, what this does. So what it means is we opened up a spot, and we opened up a little bit of cap space. We still have 321, but we did bring up a couple players that we have too. And we have almost a max roster size right now. So we have a little bit of wiggle room, and obviously we could trade players for other players and trade players away just to increase our cap space and bring people up from the minor league team as well. So the idea was that the team was playing well, and unfortunately, I think that they made this trigger based on what they saw from the Flyers game more than from the last game, in the sense that like they thought that the centers had been playing well and we're doing it, but and there's going to be growing pains, and I think you have to commit to the future. And I don't think Kuzi asked for this trade. He said, "I want a new place to play," and I get it. If he's got vices and there's a pressure here and expectations and it's interesting. A lot of people thought he would never actually report to Hershey, that he would go down and then he would leave and, retire, quote unquote, from the NHL and go over to the KHL and play. And there's still a chance that that might happen. But there's also a chance that he might play for the Bears. I kind of hope that he does as a way to at least showcase what he can do. I mean, he can run circles around these guys, even the Kuzi of today. I think it would be a good way for him to prove himself for a future contractor trying to stay in the league. So I'm interested to see what happens and whether or not he actually reports and plays for Hershey, but he hasn't played a game yet. And they're right now the number one team in the AHL, I believe, and they're the defending Cup champions down there.
I did see earlier today he is expected to practice with them tomorrow.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see how that all plays out. So, Gil, with all that being said, and we have a penalty, and we're probably going to have to give up money or something for people to take him off of the books, because if not, people would have just taken him on waivers. And they know that they can get more from us if they don't do that. Either we have to give something in kind, and that's why he cleared the waivers, right? So, I'm going to switch back our graphic over here, but I thought that was kind of interesting for people who might not know. But Gil, what is some of what do you see happening? Do you think we keep Mantha? Do you think, he's been one of our bright spots in this season? Do we trade him while the value is high? What are your thoughts on Kuzi? What do you think we have to do to move him?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to repeat what I've been saying ever since all this talk started a month ago. Strange as that sounds for something that's is supposed to take place a week and a half into March. People started talking about it 6 weeks ago. But you don't make a deal just for the sake of making a deal. If you're going to make a deal, it has to make sense for you. You don't sell, okay, you got a car that, okay, it runs maybe not as well as it used to, but it still gets you to point A, from point A to point B. You don't sell it for a bag of peanuts just to get rid of it. And I think too many fans have that mentality. Too many fans are thinking, oh, we got to sell. We got to sell. We got to sell. We got to get rid of this guy, get rid of that guy. Wrong. It has to be a deal that makes sense. So I think for a guy like Anthony Mantha, yeah, I would hate to see him go, but he's never played better. He's hitting his stride. He is probably the best skater on the Caps. Not by much, but he's definitely playing his best hockey of his career. I don't think he'll ever be worth more than what he is right now. If you can wrangle, a first or second round pick for him, maybe more. Yeah, it's hard to say no to that deal. Anything less, I don't know. And it's going to be hard to let him walk. But long term, unless he commits to a short term bridge type of deal or prove it deal, then maybe you even let him walk, and the compensation is you get that $5.7 million cap hit back if you let him walk. But yeah, that's just one example of a deal that has to make sense. It has to be something. You have to get something in return that is going to help your team at least in the future. if not so much right now. Another guy we haven't mentioned at all yet because he's been injured the last few games, Nick Dowd. Lots of people trying to make him out to be some sort of, the prize, the big prize of all the caps. It's been said that he can fetch a first rounder. I don't know that that's going to happen now. He's been on the IR and he's not due to come back for at least another game or two. Everybody's thinking it. I'm going to say it. He's damaged goods. He's still a good player, but first round, no, that's not going to happen. Maybe second round if you try to deal him, which would still be good. This is a good draft, but not as great as last year's draft. So second rounder would still be nice for him. Right now, that's realistic. So if that's what they're offering, you do that. Lots of other guys. I know we're running out of time here, but those are the two that are probably going to end up being at least considered, if not actually dealt, when Sunday's all over with or Saturday is all over with.
Yeah, I'm just frustrated. The Wizards just were on the wrong side of a 17-0 run there.
Oh, but good news, Flyers lost in the shootout. So
yes,
they get the losers. They get the loser point, but they did lose in the shootout, so not two.
Yeah, so there you go. That I do like. I'm just going to take a quick look ahead at the schedule. We play Schittsburg next. And so that's 7 p.m. At least, I don't want to talk too much shit about Pittsburgh because then they'll probably beat us. So they did not play well in their last game. I'll just put it that way. To the tune of, I believe it was 6-0, or 6-1.
They have not played well recently at all.
Yeah. So we have them on Thursday, and then we have Saturday. We're playing Chicago, and so if we want any chance of making the playoffs this year, which some people are still holding on to hope, I kind of think we're at like maybe 10 to 20% chance at this point. It's not very high, in my book. You have to win both these games, and especially in Pittsburgh because they're one of the teams that are right around them. We're right now ahead of them. We cannot let the.
He froze again.
Nah, he's frozen again. Kind of build on Robbie, the point Robbie was making about the Caps' chances to make the playoffs. It's not as if they're eliminated. I know that most of us right now, the vibe may be coming off that, doom and gloom. And yeah, I understand I'm drinking liquid death, but I'm not saying death to the Capitals' playoff chances. I get that. But just to give you an idea of how daunting the task is, right now they're sitting at 65 points, and they have 22 games left. They're going to have to win 15 of those games to get to 95 points and just to be in that conversation. They hit 95 points, they've got an outside shot at one of the two wild card spots. So that's the task that they're looking at right now, just to give you an idea of what has to be done. Is it impossible? No. Can it be done with this team? I don't know. I really don't know. I wouldn't bet on it. But that's just to give everybody an idea of what they've got to do, and it's certainly not worth trading, your future great players, potentially great players, to just for a potential return for the now, just for a shot at being in the playoffs. That makes no sense. That's why you have to do a deal. If you're going to do a deal, it has to make sense. You have to think of the long term and not now. And I'm beginning to think I'm on an island because I'm seeing C4 flailing and looking like
Marcus was waving this around. This is the towel they gave out.
I thought I lost you too.
No, this is a towel that they were giving out at the that everyone got at the Philadelphia game. This is what I'm sending you.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, I heard that like an artist designed that.
Marcus was flailing it around, so.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. I tried to jump on, and the second I jumped on my backup computer, then the first one started to work again. So I don't know how.
All right.
Going on. Um, but anyway, we have to win Pittsburgh and Chicago, and then next week we're at Winnipeg. That's a 7:30 game. So by the time 9 o'clock comes around, we'll be about the halfway point in that one. We'll be talking a little bit about the third period live, as well as recapping the Pittsburgh and Chicago, and also talking about the stuff at the trade deadline, and seeing how things turn out. But I do want Gil to give one last shout out to his podcast and the stuff that he talked about this week, and any final thoughts on the week ahead for the Caps.
Yeah. So again, our just most recent episode just came out, and it features Marcus, C4's erstwhile roommate, who is also host of the Sucrum's Off the Chain, Capitals Off the Chain podcast. So we collab together on my show, and we say, okay, here's the deal, literally. And mostly we talk about what the potential has for the Caps this deadline after going over the 4 games that were played. But you know, more than that, it's kind of an evaluation of the prospect pool that we have, which is I think never been greater. And again, can't stress this enough. It can't be touched. No deal should be considered for any of them. So that's what we focus on, and it's kind of a twofer. So next week we're going to talk about the aftermath of what happened as a result, if anything. It's possible the Caps can decide to stand pat, which not going to be a tragedy. At least I don't think. But so that's what we can. That's what looking forward to, at least from our end.
What's your gut feeling? Do you think we'll do small move, big move, stand pat?
Small move, mostly stand pat. I think if I were general manager McClellan, I would ask for the sky, the ceiling, the moon, the space station, and beyond. I would ask for the highest unreasonable price possible and say, look, you don't want to meet it? Fine. These guys are coming off the books anyway, most of them. See ya. And I think that may lead to the Caps ending up standing pat, which again isn't a tragedy. This isn't the worst team in the league. Okay. They're probably not going to make the playoffs, but this is not the worst team in the league by far. They've grown a lot this year together.
Especially when you consider the injuries.
Yes.
And then not to mention our minor league prospects that are going to be coming through in a year or two. And so when you take those two things into account, we've got a pretty big pool to pull from. So C4, your final thoughts before we let you go.
On the trade, I'm inclined to agree. Not trading the future for the now is a good thing. I think Marcus was saying he wouldn't be surprised if Mantha's gone. It wouldn't surprise me either, but like Gil said, if the deal doesn't make sense, don't take it. First rounders, definitely anything that can help us continue to build on the core that we've got coming up in the next 3 years, I think is a good thing. Toronto interested in Jensen. Is that what you said you're hearing? Marcus just said he's hearing rumbles about Toronto possibly being interested in Jensen. But again, if the deal doesn't make sense, like Gil said, this is not the worst team. They're playing well right now. They're clicking. The lines are starting to gel. But we do have enough in the pipeline coming up that when Jensen, Mantha, any of those guys, Dowd, get traded or their contracts end and they move on, we're still going to be in good shape. So as long as McClellan doesn't do anything stupid, we should be fine whatever happens.
Yeah, real quickly, one last thought, and then we're gonna let you guys go. Gil, what are we doing with Kuzi? I mean, how do we get rid of this contract?
That's the thing. I don't think it should be about getting rid of his contract. He only has 1 year left after this year. So is it a tragedy if he? Well, it might be in some respect. It might be if he stays in Hershey, but it's it's all about him getting his game back first. You have to let him do that because he's not going to be worth anything on the market, as callous as that might sound. If he doesn't get back to that point, then there's no point in trying to shop him. So you got to let him get back to his game, become that attractive commodity that he once was. And let's face it, he's not that anymore. He's not it right now, but let him get back to that point, and then you can talk about shopping him. So it's probably not going to be until well into next year before you can even have that conversation. So realistically, whether it's he's just on the practice squad, I know, I'm talking like this is an NFL team or something, but if he just practices with the team, maybe gets in some playing time, again, until he gets to that point where he gets back to, okay, I can get back to that guy that I was in 2018, then there's no sense talking deal. So I don't want to put it this way, but we're stuck with him. If you want to go that route. But yeah.
That makes sense. I just want to keep it here for just a second. We're in the last 40 seconds of the first half. Utah is up by 1. The Wizards have the ball. They step baseline and do a reverse layup, but there is a foul. So there's a foul of 31.4 seconds, and Kuzma will go to the line to shoot 2 to try to either tie or take the lead here. But yeah, C4, your final thoughts on Kuzi before we go?
Say that tomorrow's podcast.
Like I said, I kind of almost, you don't want to see him end his career in Hershey. You'd like to see him back up at the big club, but I think his time in the Capitals organization is numbered. Whether he walks away, we let him go at the end of his contract, or we are able to actually trade him. He's just kind of in this limbo spot right now. I kind of almost feel bad for him, because he basically never played in the AHL. He spent his entire career in the NHL. So, but like Gil said, this is an opportunity for him to get his head wrapped around the game again. And hopefully he takes advantage of it, and we'll see what happens.
That's the thing about
it's just kind of wait and see.
That's why he never played in the AHL, because he played majority of his career in
the KHL.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's just see if that's
I think it's just kind of a wait and see what happens with him right now. I just hope he does well wherever he ends up.
Yeah, I wish him well too. I mean, I know I've been in a lot of debates on Twitch, on Facebook forums on what's the most important goal in Capitals history. Hold on, there's 7 seconds left. The Wizards are down 1. They did make both free throws, but Utah came back and made the shot. And a tip in, up and in with 1.2 seconds gives Washington a 1-point lead going into halftime. There's a half-court heave that misses there. So Washington takes a 75-74 lead in Utah there. But there's a debate on what's the number 1 goal in Capitals history. I think it's actually Kuzi's overtime winner because it took so many monkeys off of our back, right?
100%.
A lot of people think it's Lars Eller's, Stanley Cup winning goal. I think there's an argument made for both of them, but you never even get to the 3rd round, no less the 4th round, without winning in that overtime, And
exactly.
I just, for me,
Burakovsky falls?
Yeah, in Game 7.
In Game 7?
I agree, but I thought that it was clutch in Game 7, but I think that overtime was so pivotal against that Pittsburgh team, because you got to remember the winner of the Pittsburgh-Washington team could have gone on to win the cup for like 3 years in a row, right? So in this one, that one goal was just so pivotal because it knocked them out finally. It finally did it. And I think if he doesn't score there's a good chance Pittsburgh turns around and scores and forces a Game 7 at home, and we know how that story usually ends up for us, right? So it's, for me, that's my story. Gil, what are your feelings? What do you think the number 1 goal in Capitals history is?
You know what? I gotta come back to Lars Eller's goal because it actually brought them the cup, and it was the epitome of a Capitals playoff goal. It squirts underneath of Fleury. He's there at the right place somehow at the right time. But there were so many magical moments in that. A lot of the goals scored in that playoff run, easily top 5. Until then, what was it? Dale Hunter's goal in 1988.
You know what?
Before then.
I'll
Okay,
take
so
that one
just to
off.
give you an idea, but so many magical moments. DSP's goal beforehand,
The one that he's flying through the
the
air
one
too.
where one where he loses the balance and his balance and yet managed to keep it on his stick and fling it in the net.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Yeah, Brooks Orpik, flinging it at the net. Burakovsky, you mentioned. Lars Eller in overtime against Columbus to survive that series.
Yeah,
that was
so many great goals in that run.
Score that, and in Columbus, if Columbus takes down the ice and scores and makes it 3-0, we might not even go.
It's over. Yeah, the series is over at that point.
It's pretty crazy to think about. The only other goal I could think of, or game specifically, was when they went to in '98 to win the Eastern Conference. In that game, exactly. Would be up there as well as maybe a slightly more recent one than the '80s one, but. But I agree. I think 8 of the top 10 probably now exist in that run, so or at least 5. So it's hard to tell. It's a fun debate to have. But I think there's an argument to be made for sure. Just a beautiful goal. Just the setup by
top 3 easily.
Yeah. And, so, I always will wish him well and so that. Well, thank you guys for going overtime with me and helping me break it down. C4, we'll see you in a couple of weeks, and Gil, we'll see you next week to celebrate Anna's birthday and the live Caps game.
Sounds good.
We'll be there.
All right, sounds good. All right, and then with that, we'll bring in Champ as well.
All right, take care.
All right, night, guys.
Good night.